Hello and welcome to Scriptorium episode 2. My name is Ernesto, I'll be your host today. So today we're going to be talking about self-acceptance and self-esteem. Now, people operate on some basic principles despite our complex nature, one of which seems to be certainty breeds confidence. Certainty is based on many elements: knowledge of yourself, general knowledge of your world and others, as well as the ability to process emotional stimuli. Essentially, it's the one piece holding everything together in a world that is in a constant state of flux. If we know ourselves, we can easily navigate even the most severe of obstacle courses without as much trepidation. Reality is that there's never pure certainty, except in the case of death and taxes. So it becomes a game of finding the right path in an infinite number of paths. Where does this tie into self-esteem, you might ask? Self-esteem is like a life bar in our journey through life. We base our outlook on it, and it requires confidence in oneself as well as others. Before you go into a situation where you work with others, you should have a strong constitution in order to avoid being swept up in any kind of nonsense. That doesn't mean that you have to be perfect or even likable. On the contrary, it just means you have to know and accept who you are, especially your base nature. In regard to the emotional element, it's generally harder to do since feelings are volatile and unreliable. It becomes even more difficult when you have many emotions floating around that aren't yours. It's important to note that working alongside or even living with others is like playing an advanced level video game where you don't know what's going to happen next or how one word is going to affect someone more so than someone else. It's very tricky. Essentially, we are introduced back into finding certainty in a new environment. The additional challenge of dealing with grab-bag personalities can be a significant factor for our self-esteem. Now, where we go wrong oftentimes is we tie our our certainty, confidence, and self-esteem to a particular place or even a person. If you are too reliant on one person, it can result in codependency. Conversely, if you don't rely on anyone at all, then it can have the result of unnecessary solitude or eventual depression. Here's where it relates to writing. So when you develop a character or characters, it's important to consider, practically everything, especially if you want to go beyond the action-reaction model, which basically only builds two-dimensional characters. Everything said and done has an effect on your character. So that one thing that seems insignificant in a story can have a huge effect on your character. Now, they're molded as their self-esteem fluctuates as they go through their journey. This can create the difference between a passable, boring character and an extraordinary character. It's all in how you set up the world and who you surround your main character with. A good supporting cast can be infinitely helpful in developing a main character. Now, this ties into a story that is currently out. It's called Anointed, Lost in a Field of Gold. So in Anointed, the main character he's a teenager, right? So he has everything kind of okay, but not great. Like, he's still trying to figure stuff out. But for the most part, he knows what's going on. Now he has a chance to embrace a larger destiny. Now that destiny comes with a great deal of forward progression, chaos kind of energy. So he's entering a new unknown world, but it's not totally new to him, as he has had clues that kind of led him in that direction, but it's still uncertain. So the first part of the story is about him figuring out kind of what's going on, and the second part is about him reaching a point of acceptance. So towards the end, he decides to. He makes his decision as to does he accept the new changes, or does he not, or does he just live in denial? But so it's literally the main essence of the story is about accepting new situations and forging and recreating confidence, because confidence is a fluctuating value, not a set value. And that's what it's actually really important just to know. You can go from being to having very little confidence to being very confident, as long as that confidence is based on some form of reality or some type of accomplishment. Because confidence that isn't based in reality is just arrogance and stupidity. So that's it for today. So hope you enjoyed it, and if you like what you heard, subscribe, like, comment, that kind of stuff. And I look forward to talking to you guys later.